podcast where people reach their goals and develop confidence one mind shift habit at a time. Let's join our host, certified coach Christina.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach. I am your host, certified mindset and confidence coach, Christina Calloway. I help athletes, parents, and coaches develop the confidence they need to achieve their goals both on and off the field of play. You have to excuse my raspy voice. It is springtime and it is getting the best of me. Have you ever found yourself saying any of these statements? I need more time in the day, or I need one more of me, or I would do this, but I just don't have the time or energy. Maybe you're that person who has purchased multiple planners or invested in multiple time management courses to help you get better organized, and you still feel there is more that you can do. I know that's me. And then you hear or you read about that person who is a full-time mom as well as a successful solopreneur, and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Or better yet, how is she doing all of that? I know I said that. On this episode of Conversations with Coach, my guest shares with us how she is able to grow her business while balancing her life. And I can't wait for you to meet her. She is a ball of energy and then some. At the beginning of January of this year, while scrolling through my Instagram account, I came across a very bubbly personality. She was doing a reel and sharing how she had taken the entire month of December off and still exceeding her financial goals for that month by $15,000. That's right, you heard me. She took the month off and she still exceeded her financial goals by $15,000. While her comment section was full of congratulations and words of encouragement, the practical yet skeptical side of me and even envious side of me just had to ask her a serious question. And so I did. I really wasn't expecting her to respond because after all, she had that blue check mark beside her name. And to much of my surprise, she did respond, and much less a second reel. Not only did she respond, she posted a second reel featuring my question. You know, she's a social media influencer, and I wasn't expecting any of that. My question to her was, what would you say to us new solopreneurs who respond, you can't afford to take a month off reaching 3.5 million people, 1.4K plus students implementing 113 marketing strategies, surpassing your financial goals by 15,000. How can you do that? I then asked her a few more questions because, you know, that's me. When you were in the incubator phase of your business, did you take a month off? How did you find the balance between building your business and resting? Because I needed to know. I was working myself into a frenzy. Well, she did answer my questions. Then her reel received 7,000 views. And she is joining me on this episode of Conversations with Coach because you know I did go in for the ask. And she's going to share her answers with you, my viewing audience. So please press the like button and share this with someone you know who can benefit from hearing what she has to share with us. Help me welcome Shanté Gorman of Sugar Punch Marketing.
Hi.
Hi, Shanté.
Thank you for having me. Oh my goodness, what an intro.
That is exactly how it happened. As I was saying it, I was just reliving that moment because let me just tell you, when I saw you doing that reel, I was like, oh, first I was like, oh, wow. And then I was like, wait, is that real? And then I was reading the comments. I was like, okay. And I kept scrolling. I was like, well, when is someone going to ask her? Is that really real? And then I was like, that someone is me. I'm going to ask. And I was like, after all, she's got a blue check mark. My question is going to get lost somewhere down in all the thousands of questions. And then you saw me and then you responded and you were so kind and so sweet. And when I saw you do a screenshot and actually respond, and then not only that, you came inside my DMs, I was like, wait, what?
No, I am so glad you asked. I think it's important when we're sharing those types of wins to also just be very real about how we can do that, how we can take that amount of time off. You know, I'm not in my first year of business. I'm several years in. So I think it's important to kind of be able to realistically look at things as a whole.
Absolutely. And the part about how we met is just, it was really that organic. And for those who are watching and who might listen to the replay later, I know for me, when I am looking at social media content, and especially for the social media influencers, and I'm admiring and I'm learning and I'm gleaning from them, sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming, and we start thinking and putting these thoughts in our minds of, I would ask, or maybe someone has asked and they didn't get that response. And so it causes them to push back, to not ask any more questions, because like me, I didn't think that I would get noticed. And I took a chance. I was like, well, I'm just going to ask to see, even if you didn't respond, maybe someone else might have responded to my question to give me that answer. What would you say to someone who has that thought, as I did, about the perception that they have of social media influencers?
They're not unfounded. I mean, it depends on the specific person that they're asking the question of, whether they're open to that or they have the time to catch up on all of their comments. Sometimes I miss them as well, but yours came in pretty early on where I was able to see it and respond. So it just kind of depends. I would say shoot your shot. Do the comment, do the question, see if you get a response, because you never know. It could turn into something, you know, you might end up having them on your podcast one day. Like, you never know. So you might as well answer your question or ask the question, see if you get a response. Even if they don't answer it, there might be somebody else who can.
Right. Now, what I have not shared with the audience is a little bit about your background. And I want to back up just a little bit, and I want to share that because it's really important. And I did mention to them that I would. What I did not share with you all is that Shanté is the founder of a boutique digital marketing agency, and she's called it Sugar Punch Marketing. And what she does is she specializes in helping entrepreneurs grow their online business with custom, innovative marketing strategies that pack a punch through done-for-you services, one-on-one mentorship, and do-it-yourself courses. And I know that we are going to get into that a little bit more. And I really want you, let's just go ahead and dive right in. Tell us about what your business is and how you do that for people.
Yeah, I would love to answer that question. So, when I first started my business about 4 years ago, I was doing full-time social media management for small businesses. So I would create posts for them, like on their behalf, for like Instagram and like their Facebook pages, all with the goal of growing their business, getting more traffic. Could be to their website, it could be getting sales through Instagram, whatever the goal was. And then as my client list grew, I had less and less time to be able to help other people be able to take on more clients. So then I started creating courses for people who wanted to learn how to do it themselves. And that's kind of the springboard of my business. So part of it, we have a small client roster of people that we do their Instagram management for them on their behalf, pretty hands off. And then the other side of it is courses and mentorship, where I'm there, I'm answering questions and doing kind of one-on-one type of strategy and help, but you're able to do it all on your own and you're posting for yourself.
Absolutely. And you did mention a little bit earlier that you've been in business for about how long have you been in business?
Almost, it'll be 4 years in June.
Mm-hmm. So actually, when you think about that, 4 years really isn't that long. I mean, especially when you think about the pandemic. And I feel like when the pandemic came, it kind of took a year away from us, or it really, depending on how you look at it, it either took a year away or it really speeded time up really fast. Because every time when I talk with someone and they think about time, they always refer to, wait a minute, there was the pandemic, and then they go from there, because time is so relative. And so when you decided to go out on your own, so to speak, and came up with Sugar Punch, and I really love that.
Thank you.
I really want to find out. I understand about packing the punch, but I want to find out more about how you came up with Sugar Punch. And so when you decided to go out on your own and do Sugar Punch, how difficult was that for you to get it started? How it started?
Yeah. So I have a 4-year degree in advertising, so I kind of already had the knowledge of, the skill set of marketing something. When I went to college, like Facebook pages had like just started, so it wasn't really a thing to market yourself on there yet. But as I started like working full time for small businesses, they would be like, oh, you have marketing experience. Why don't you try our Facebook page? Why don't you try to do this? Why don't you create our Instagram account? And so it just kind of went from there, where I got hands-on experience for the companies I was already doing like graphic design work for. And then I had a baby. I had baby number 2. And at that point, it was like, okay, I can't work full time. I was also going through divorce. So then it was like, all right, I need to replace this income. Like I need to make more. And just with, daycare and like driving and just all of the things logistically, finding a full-time job that paid more, it just wasn't in the cards for me. Mm-hmm. So I really looked into, okay, what can I do to start a business? What skill set do I have? What can I provide? What's going to let me set my own hours and just kind of be able to control, because 2 small kids, it's not like you can do a lot of like video calls or like things like that, like they're noisy and you don't have a lot of time where you can sit for a period. And so social media management is what I ended up with. And once I decided, and once I came up with my business name, which Sugar, I have a huge sweet tooth, and also personality wise, I just felt like it kind of fit. And then Punch was like, yeah, sure, I'm sweet. But also like my strategies are good. I can really pack a punch. Like I don't sugarcoat things necessarily, I'll tell you like it is. So I tried to embed myself within my brand and also make it really memorable. And it's something that kind of stands out and gets people asking me, oh, what is that? What does that mean? How'd you come up with that? So I think having that type of name was very helpful and also getting started. And then once I did get started, I went hard at it. I experienced finding clients and then growing and then having too many clients at one point and just kind of scaling from there. But that's how it all got started.
I love it. And you said so many key things during that. And I know when you have these highs and lows in life, and we're giving you, the listening audience, you're getting a cliff note version of Shanté's journey, her life journey. And I don't want to whitewash it in any stretch of the imagination, because anybody who is in any phase of what her journey is, you know, it is not, does not sound that simplistic. Anyone who has experienced the joys of having children, and then you have two young ones back to back, there, it's joyous, but there are times, as she said, it's very noisy. And then when you're at that high, then all of a sudden there's that life low when you go through a divorce, and then you're like, oh goodness, I've got to replace that income. What do I do? And then she said something very key that I don't want anyone to miss. She said that she found something that she was already really good at. And she knew that she could make it work. And she figured out how to make it work with the noisy kids. And it didn't look like what anyone else thought it would look like. Like, she can't, you know, people might say, well, oh, well, you've got your computer, just do that. Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to have meetings when you've got kids screaming in the background. I don't know that my boss is going to appreciate that. So that is a good takeaway that someone can have with this. Look and see the skill set that you can already do, and then work that. I want you to share with the listening audience the growing it and balancing it, because that is what my question was to you as a young solopreneur, which I do consider myself to still be that. And how you balance that. What was some of the key things that you had to finally figure out? Okay, I'm tired of pulling my hair out. How do I grow this so that you finally got to the point where, you know what, I'm going to take this month off because I can now?
Yeah. So I would say when I was first starting up, something that I learned very early on was being able to set boundaries with myself, what my work hours were going to be. Because yes, I started my business to have income, but I also started it because I wanted to be home with my kids. I wanted to be present, you know? And so when I first started, I found that I kind of have workaholic type tendencies where that's all I want to do. But you can't do that. Like, as a parent, you have other responsibilities. The kids need your attention. And so setting specific work hours so that I would take breaks throughout the day, you know, it's structured around the kids' schedule. But also, I would only work up until a certain point in the evenings once they were in bed. Like, I had to make sure I was taking care of myself as well. And then I would also be off during the weekends. The weekends were family time. I wouldn't work then. Could my business have grown a little bit more quickly if I had worked those hours? Maybe, but I don't think it was worth the trade-off. And I think that's part of the whole balancing it is, what do you prioritize? What's most important to you? What do you want to spend your time doing? And what do you have to be doing? And it's kind of what the trade-off is in deciding what you want it to look like.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. How important is it to have a support system, and what does yours look like?
Yeah, I think it is so important because a lot of times people don't talk about it, but as an entrepreneur, a solopreneur especially, you get in your own head a lot, and like that self-doubt, and then comparing yourself to other people that you feel like are in a similar boat to you, but then like maybe they start taking off and you don't. Like, that gets really, really difficult to deal with. And so being able to have someone that you can talk to and then be like, oh, you're fine. Like, you're psyching yourself out, and just being able to talk or have them validate your feelings or even just give you some advice. I think that is like the core element of having a business that you can keep going in, and you don't quit and you don't give up. Because if you don't have that support, you psych yourself out and you're like, all right, I'm going to throw in the towel. This isn't for me. Where if you have someone else telling you, no, you're fine, keep going. Like, you need that.
Yes.
My support network, I have a partner, and he's been very supportive. He built the home office that I'm in within the first few months of me starting my business, which was helpful, especially with little ones. There's an area where we can have a baby gate to keep the kids out, so
Yeah.
that was helpful. And then I have a supportive community that I've built, connected with a bunch of entrepreneurs on Instagram that do what I do, but are also online entrepreneurs like yourself. And I think just being able to talk and share and connect is really, really helpful.
That's great. That's all great advice. Having that community, having that support, just knowing just because you might have the title of entrepreneur or solopreneur, you don't have to be in all by yourself, because you can't do it all by yourself and be successful. I don't believe anyway. You've given some really good tips, and in terms of the growing and balancing life. And let's say that there is someone who's listening or watching this, and they're like, okay, I have my community, I have my support, and I've checked all of those boxes. However, I don't feel like that I can do what Shanté did. I don't feel like that I'm ready to pull that trigger and take that month off. I don't know that my business would be sustainable. What would be your advice to that individual? How did you know that you had the things in place to go ahead and take that month off?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the way that I did it and the way that I would recommend is really sit down, look at the numbers, like logistically, approach it from a logistical standpoint. Can you actually afford to take this off? Do you have business coming in before, like in November? Do you have it coming in January? Like, can you afford to take it off? Like I said, like 3 years in, I was able to take a month off. My first year, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So it's, I don't want to just be like, oh, take a month off because you want to. It's like, have you built it up to a point where you can? And I know everyone listening, they have different businesses and business structures. I was able to, because I have payment plans, I'm able to work ahead on client work, so that things are kind of automated and happening throughout the month of December. So it depends on what you can do, but if you can automate things, if you can have systems, if you're able to maybe hire help for that month, like a virtual assistant or something, then go ahead and do it. I know not everyone is in those places yet, and it's a privilege to be able to be in that place, but it could be a future goal even.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you saying that everyone has to look at their business and their structure and where they are. Did you, before you got to taking the month off, were there stretches of times where you might have taken a week off, 2 weeks off, and kind of worked yourself up to that?
Yeah, I started with taking like 3-day weekends once in a while. Then it was 4-day weekends. Then it was a week here and there. And I think that helped me build up to understanding what I needed to do in order to be able to set myself up to be able to take something like a month off. And knowing, I have a team and what they need to do. And just kind of how to run it all behind the scenes without actually having to have my hands on. So I think practicing taking small stints of time off would be better than just, going full speed towards 30 days off when you haven't taken any amount of time off.
I agree, because I think being an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, you wear all of the hats. And if someone were unrealistic enough to think, okay, I'm just going to plan to do that, they wouldn't enjoy that month off or even those 3 days off, because of the anxiety that it may cause them not, if they don't have certain systems or they haven't worked themselves, the idea of releasing some of that responsibility to someone else. So thank you so much for saying that and making that recommendation. As we prepare to come to, and I know it's been so quick, and I know I'm going to get in the comment sections from everyone else like, no, don't do this. This has been so good. And you all know how I am. I give you just enough so that you will do this call to action and get in touch with Shanté, because she has the resources to get you set in place so that you can work toward a 3-day, 4-day weekend, and eventually up to a month, so that you can enjoy your business. And instead of you working the business will work for you. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, as entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, that is our ultimate goal. We want to be able to have our businesses work for us instead of us work our business. And this is where the call to action that I do with all of my guests, this is where this comes in. And this information is going to be in the show notes. So don't worry if you're not prepared to write all of this down, but Shanté makes it very easy because this is what she does. You can get in touch with her through Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and YouTube at Sugar Punch Marketing. And she's made it super easy also. You can go to her website at sugarpunchmarketing.com. Get in touch with her, schedule a consultation with her, let her look over your information so that she can share with you where she can see maybe you can make some improvements, and maybe start out with a 3-day weekend to where you can just relax and breathe and rejuvenate and get things going a little bit better in your business. And I'm sure she'd be happy to partner with you. Shanté, I always do something in my final thoughts with all of my guests, and I'm going to do it with you. As you know, I am a mindset and confidence coach. And so I'm going to ask you the question that I ask all of my guests. What is the one mindset shift that you would share with the listening audience that when it comes to growing your business while still balancing your life, that you would recommend that they take?
Ooh, I love that. I would say give yourself grace. I think as entrepreneurs and the content that we consume and the pressure we put on ourselves is I got to go, go, go. I need to hustle. If I'm not hustling, if I'm not checking off all of my to-do list, I'm falling behind. It's all on me. And I think being able to shift that and say, I'm human. I'm prioritizing what's important. It's okay if I don't get everything done. I'm only one person. I can only do so much. I think being able to make that shift and understanding like, it's okay. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself grace. I think that makes a huge difference in how we approach building our business.
Absolutely. Shanté, I appreciate you so much joining me on this episode of Conversations with Coach, sharing your knowledge on growing your business while still balancing your life. I know I've picked up some additional nuggets that I'm going to be implementing, some things that I can tweak that I definitely will be tweaking. And I think I need to reach out to you also on some more strategies as it relates to my business. So thank you again for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Well, there you have it, everyone. I hope this was an enriching and that you picked up a lot of nuggets from this episode, and that as entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, that you are ready to grow your business while still balancing your life. It's so important. As I mentioned, we want to be able to have our businesses work for us instead of us working the business. And I appreciate you so much for joining me again on this episode of Conversations with Coach. If you found the information on this episode helpful, please save, share, and follow me. And remember, when you change your mindset from I can't to how can I, you're going to see your life change too. I will see you next week. Same time, same station. Make it a great one.
Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Coach. Please be sure to follow Coach Christina on all of her social media platforms. And remember, life is only as good as your mindset.